to entertain you, not to teach you. They don't give a fuck about teaching you, you miserable shithead. They want your money because they look at you as a customer. See, me, somebody like me, I could give a rat's ass if you like me or not. I mean, I'm going to be doing my videos anyway, right? And teaching you something that might be fucking worthwhile. Your professors in university with a fucking PhD and all that shit, they're not going to teach you squat because it's not in their interest to teach you. What do I always tell you guys? I always tell you, cui bono, who benefits? You always want to be looking at the motivation of people and who is benefiting from any given situation in order to figure out what's going on. Okay? Now, lots of people are going to say, oh, it's like all a big conspiracy and the lizard people are involved. But no. Lots of times, what seems to be very complicated is actually very, very simple if you break it down by the motivation of the people involved. Now, I'm going to talk right now about the whole student loan mess. Now, the student loan mess, this is catastrophic, and I'll explain briefly why. It's not an issue that there's so much student debt. The problem is that, see, the student debt that young people, especially educated, smart young people, wind up saddled with, drags on them throughout their lives. See, if you graduate from college, you're a 22, 23-year-old kid, and you've got $50,000 worth of debt, it's going to take you a long time to pay off that debt. I mean, you're going to be paying interest on that debt for years, right? Now, it's going to take you a long time to pay off that debt, which means that you're going to postpone buying your first house. You're going to postpone getting married, postpone having children. Okay, this has societal impact. It changes the way the society is, okay? And so that's why the issue of student debt is such an important one, because it is warping the priorities of the society. People, young people, are deciding to postpone forming families from their 20s to their 30s. And what a lot of women are discovering is that once they hit their 30s, 35, around there, they discover that they no longer can get as easily pregnant as before. And point of fact, after 40, the odds of a woman getting pregnant are fairly slim, unless heroic medical procedures are undertaken. And even so, even in the case of these heroic measures, it's not a sure thing that women will get pregnant after the age 40. So this has a societal impact. But you have to ask yourself, why is it happening? Why is it, if it's such a big deal, why is nobody making a big fuss about it? Well, the answer is very simple, and it goes to cui bono, who benefits, the motivation of the people involved. You see, lots of people make a lot of money off of this thing. Lots of people make a lot of money off the scam that is the student loan business, because it is a scam. Make no mistake about it. It is a scam because what you are paying for, once you get into that debt and you pay that university, what you are receiving in exchange is not worth much, if anything at all, especially if you're getting a liberal arts degree. Especially if you're getting a degree like I did, for instance, in philosophy and history, which were my degrees, or social studies, or anthropology, or music, or any of the wonderful academic disciplines that, if studied right, are actually quite difficult, quite profound, and quite illuminating as to the human condition. But unfortunately, colleges today are not doing their job. And I'm getting ahead of myself, so let me go piece by piece. First of all, who is benefiting by students taking out loans to pay for college? Well, the banks, for one, and investors, for another. Because you see, one of the things about student debt is that a student who goes into debt to pay for his college, if he goes bankrupt later on in life, that student debt remains with him. It cannot be eliminated in bankruptcy. Every other debt, any other kind of debt, commercial debt or what have you, even medical bills, I believe medical bills, somebody will have to correct me on this one, can be discharged by way of bankruptcy, but not student debt. Student debt is not discharged by way of bankruptcy. It stays on your record. It is like, like concrete boots on a drowning man. See? So you go bankrupt, and at the end of the bankruptcy proceeding, you're left with absolutely nothing except that student debt. Yippee. So from the point of view of the lender, of the person putting out that loan to the student, this is like, guaranteed money because the student can never walk away from that debt. You take out a mortgage on your house and decide to walk away from that mortgage, well, the bank repossesses the house and that's that. But you don't have to pay that mortgage anymore. The bank repossessed it and that's it. Not so with student debt, okay? So, banks love it. Investors love it for the same reason. Because, number one, the student can never walk away from the debt, or a former student can never walk away from the debt. Number two, a lot of these loans are guaranteed by the federal government. It is guaranteed profit. So banks love student debt because they themselves make money, and they also make money when they bundle up these student loans and sell them as student loan bonds, which they do to investors who make a lot of money off of this. Because remember, the whole point of investing is to lower your risk. If you are getting a constant 6% return on investment, and you know, guaranteed, that number one, the person who owes you this money can never walk away from this debt, and number two, the government is guaranteeing it, it's free money. It is better than free money. It is money that is earning 6% interest that is free. You see what I mean? So, banks and investors, colleges and universities, they're also making a whole bunch of money off of student debt. Why? Very simple. You see, I'm an administrator at a university. I'm a dean of whatever, okay? And see, I'm charging students, just for the sake of it, I'm charging them, say, $20,000 a year in in tuition and room and board, just for the sake of argument. I'm charging them $20K per year. Let's say I up that to $25K per year, just because, okay? Just because I feel like it. What's gonna happen? Am I gonna lose any student? No, I'm not gonna lose a single student. What's gonna happen is that all the students who want to come to my college, they're gonna take out more loans. They're gonna take out $5,000 worth of loans. And where does that $5,000 go, you might ask? Oh, very simple. To my paycheck. I am going to up my salary on the backs of the students, of you fucking idiot, who last year had to pay $20,000 to come to my college and now has to pay $25,000, and that difference you make it up with loans. Loans that you can never rescind, that can never be, written off. Loans that you're going to carry to the rest of your days, and it goes to pay my salary. This goes to all of the administrators in universities. Have you thought to yourself, why is it that all of these colleges and universities, they have these perfect campuses? I mean, they're so gorgeous. It's like a little paradise. Even in the most decrepit, bankrupt areas of the country, I'm talking, the industrial heartland or former industrial heartland of the United States, Ohio, Michigan, you have these pristine, perfect colleges and universities where everything is scrubbed out and manicured lawns and everything so beautiful. Who do you think is paying for that maintenance? You figuring it out? Did you figure it out? Yes, you are paying it with your student loan. See? And so, bankers benefit. Investors benefit. College administrators benefit. Everybody benefits. What about professors? What about professors? Have you noticed that in colleges today, nobody ever gets kicked out because of grades? I mean, you really have to go out of your way to flunk out of a university. I mean, you have to barring saying something politically incorrect. I mean, if you call a professor a cunt or a nigger, maybe you'll get kicked out, but that'll be not for academics. It'll be for disciplinary, for being intolerant or some shit like that. About grades. Who gets kicked out for grades in colleges and universities today? Nobody. Why? Because you see, colleges no longer look at students as pupils who have to master a discipline. Colleges and universities look at students as customers, and the customer is always right. See, I remember back in 93, something like that, I was talking with this kid, I might as well say he was a black kid, and he knew that he was affirmative actioned. And he said that he was getting really crappy grades, and he admitted that he wasn't really doing the work for his class It was an English lit class. We were both taking. It was a class on Milton, as a matter of fact. He was telling me that he wasn't really doing any of the reading or any of the work, and he was still getting, you know, C-. He was passing. And this is an Ivy League school back in the early 90s. He was passing, and he said, well, yeah, it's the affirmative action bump, you know. That's what he called it, by the way. And he was a shrewd kid, but not very book smart. He shouldn't have been at my college. I mean, he just couldn't hack it. It was an Ivy League school, and he'd gotten a couple of 100 points lower than the average on the SATs, but yet there he was, because he was black, because of affirmative action. And even though he wasn't doing the work, well, he was still getting C-, you know. He was just writing up, you know, on his test, just a bunch of bullshit about Milton, stuff that he'd randomly heard in class, and he was getting C-. See? Now that, at that time, that was because of affirmative action. But today, it happens because colleges and universities look at students as customers, and they don't want to lose customers. They want to have all those customers paying up every year, paying tuition, paying room, paying board, paying fees. That's what they want. See? So that's why the professors are not flunking students. On top of that, they have a direct incentive not to do it, because if they start flunking students, their popularity, their ranking among students is going to go down. And so they might potentially lose their job, because universities are not holding on to teachers, especially lecturers and non-tenure track faculty. They're not holding on to them because they're such great academics. They're holding on to them so long as they make the students happy, so long as they entertain the students. Your professors in college are there to entertain you, not to teach you. They don't give a fuck about teaching you, you miserable shithead. They want your money because they look at you as a customer. See, me, somebody like me, I could give a rat's ass if you like me or not. I mean, I'm going to be doing my videos anyway, right? And teaching you something that might be fucking worthwhile. Your professors in university with a fucking PhD and all that shit, they're not going to teach you squat because it's not in their interest to teach you. See, maybe if you go into STEM, into science, technology, engineering, mathematics, those fields, maybe you'll actually learn something. Maybe, okay? But the fact of the matter is, in all the social sciences and all the humanities, it's all just become a bunch of bullshit. They are all there, all those professors and faculty and what have you, are there to milk the students so that the students can find themselves, which is just a bunch of bullshit. You know, I can tell you where you are. I can help you find yourself. See where you're standing? Look down on the ground. That's where you're standing, you fucking idiot. You don't need to go to fucking college at 25, 30, 35, 40 grand a year to fucking find yourself. If you really want to find yourself, you know what you do? You put together a little backpack, travel to some faraway place that you've always wanted to go to, Europe, Asia, Africa, wherever, it doesn't matter. Find yourself a job there, say teaching English as a second language, and stay there for a couple of years. Get to know the people, get to know the language, get to know the customs, work hard as an English as a second language teacher, and I bet you'll find yourself a lot more. That's what I did, by the way. I spent, 3 years teaching English as a second language, and at the end of that, I had a lot of skills that were worthwhile. I could talk to an audience. I could order people around. I'd grown. I grew more than when I went to university, because I did go to university. I went to a 4-year college. And it was, well, I've talked about it before. It was a miserable experience. But apart from that, I didn't learn shit. Everything I learned at my prestigious Ivy League school, I could have learned on my own by just taking the syllabi and doing the reading. And that would have been that. That would have been more than enough. I didn't actually have to go. It was a waste of my time. If you're studying a liberal arts degree today, it is a waste of your time. If you are trying to find yourself today, it is a waste of your time. What you should be doing is going out and experiencing life, not going into debt. Because the debt is for other people to make money off of you. Because, see, this is the modern indentured servitude. This is how you become a slave in the modern economy. By going to college, taking out these loans, to get an education you cannot afford and you do not need and which will not benefit you not one iota. And at the end of it, you get a worthless degree. And you will be owing money for the rest of your life for that degree.